I'm Scott Al Miller. This is my life living in Leon, Nicaragua, and on several discussions that I had recently, and a question on the community. Asked me about how to find better prices. Now, it's not always the same thing, but generally, people are looking for how do you get a better price with hotels. A lot of people who are coming to Nicaragua or looking at being expats, for example, may not have a lot of experience in shopping for hotels. They just do the normal vacation stuff and may not be aware of some of the hotel things that some of us who work in the industry and travel extensively and live abroad for large portions of our life may know. So I'm looking at adding a little bit of my own insight into that. As a hotelier for the last 30 years, I took my first job managing a hotel at 19. I am now 49, and for the last several years have owned my own hotel. So I have a little bit of insight about why these things work from all different levels. And where you're generally going to find those deals. And as someone who's worked both sides, I kind of have seen how it's played out. So I'm going to do my best to give you what little insight I have to the industry and how you are likely or why you are likely to get different prices at different times right after the bump. People will often provide a lot of opinions as to how to get the best prices, and I'm going to do my best to explain why the prices work the way that they do so you can kind of judge a given scenario for yourself, because there is no one single right answer. Same thing with airline tickets. Often we're going to get our best prices going direct with the airlines, but as some people who work in travel agencies have pointed out in the past, well, there are situations where travel agencies are given dramatically better prices for some reason than good customers of the airlines. Generally, this is a bad idea because it makes loyal customers angry and can cost you loyalty. So generally, you don't want this to get out. You certainly don't want any situation where that would ever be disclosed. It's kind of like how Verizon used to penalize people for being continuous customers and would pay you to leave them. It was bizarre, right? Once that word got out, they lost a lot of people. These aren't things that people want to have get out. You want to have people believe that their loyalty is rewarded or at least ignored, but never penalized. So in hotels, we have a number of factors that go on. So a lot of people think that booking online is going to give you your best price. And in a lot of scenarios, it is. That's very common. So if you were to test this a lot, you would find in many cases that you actually did get your best price that way. Of course, you don't know what the best price is. That's one of the challenges with anything that is a barter system, and hotels kind of fall into that category. Now, it's a lot less happening today. When I first started in hotels 30 years ago, whatever that was, I guess it was around 1995. We had a lot of bartering that actually went on. People would come in and be like, I don't want to pay that much, I'll pay you this much. And we were trained now I was a manager, right? So I was the one making the judgment calls. They didn't have the front desk staff doing that, but as a manager, I could. And we had to understand exactly how much a room cost us per night to maintain, what it cost for electricity and cleaning and insurance and those kinds of things when a guest would stay there. So we knew what we could bargain around, and we knew if we were going to lose someone, what we could go down to and still make a little bit of money. And at what point someone's like, well, I'll only pay you this much. We knew we'd actually lose money. We'd be like, get out of here. We have no interest in your business, right? So important thing. So haggling was a regular part of hotels because the prices are kind of arbitrary. Now, back then you couldn't book online. You had to come in. We didn't have the internet so much when I got started. Today we have all these websites, and a lot of them are official, right? A lot of hotels. So I use the Hilton chain a lot, right? I can go directly to Hilton. I don't always get the best price, but I get the best features by going directly to their website. This one's interesting. They specifically and make no claim to giving you your best price, but I always book through my Hilton app. Why do I do that if I'm not getting the best price? Well, I do it because I'm getting the most points. I get the most treatment and features when I get to the hotel. I get more cookies. I get more free water. I get automatic digital check-in. I get more points that add up towards free rooms. And I know I'm coming back to the chain, so I use those points religiously and so forth. I know that overall the situation is just better and the convenience is extreme, but I could go to booking.com. And of course, Hilton is going to honor it because they are on Booking. That is their listing. It's just a different way to get to them. And there you can get a lower price, but you'll lose a bunch of features in a lot of cases. So you just want to weigh what you're doing for different situations. I'm a Hilton Gold member, so I get even more features, and I use the Hilton American Express card, so I get even more features. Yeah, right? It keeps adding up. And hotel management, and just like airline management and credit card management, are some of those things you do to maximize the value you get from the things you're already doing, right? Traveling and spending or whatever. So often by going online, you're going to get your best prices if you're booking somewhat in advance. As you get closer to the time that the room is going to be available, you may be able to get better prices some other way. It's generally in the 2 days to several months period that you're going to get your best benefit from booking online. Now, a lot of these things vary, and remember, there's a lot of factors, and every hotel can do their own thing. Some get lazy, some have complex algorithms, some track who you are, all kinds of things. There's no one clear answer, and booking online is not a single thing, right? There's like just with the Hilton, there's 2 different places to book. A lot of hotels have 4 or 10 different online mechanisms at which you can book, and different ones are going to get different priorities, have different features, have different pricing, have different overhead, and so forth. But almost all of those online mechanisms carry overhead. So they have to pay somebody. So for example, in the booking example, Hilton has to pay booking for that payment, right? It might be $1, it might be $10, but it's something that impacts, and one way or another, you as a consumer have to pay for that. Now, again, they may get some volume and you may end up benefiting, but you could have benefit more if that overhead didn't exist. One way or another, there's overhead. So knowing that that's the case, in theory, you can talk to the property directly and get a better deal. I would recommend looking up prices online before talking to the property, because that gives you negotiating power. Hey, I'm willing to book with you directly. Here's what it would cost online, right? So if you call up a random hotel who is often listed in many sites, right? That's what I was saying, is many are on Booking. They may be on hotels.com. They may be on Hostel World. They may be on their own website. Their own website might be some small-time regional thing, right? There's a lot of these. So you see that commonly, and the prices are not the same most of the time. So that's a place to start, right? If you're really looking to get that lowest price on a specific property, then having that information, you can call that property or email that property, whatever, and be like, I would like to pay no more than this, and I know I'm saving you overhead. I'd like to save $1 or $2 over this, maybe several dollars, right? Then you have an opportunity to negotiate from a point of knowledge. If you just call on someone and say, I'll give you $50 and their rack rate is $100, they're just going to laugh at you and say, no, you need to pay a rack. And you've pretty much lost the ability to negotiate at that point. But if you look and say, hey, look, I know I could book on Booking right now and get 50 and I'll do it. But if you would give me 45, I won't make you pay for that credit card processing. I won't make you pay for that booking fee. And we can do that, right? And they can consider that. But in some cases, it's actually cheaper for them to have a website take it. And this is often because they're using multi-jurisdiction payment processing, and they want the payment to process in some other jurisdiction, so that taking cash or running your credit card locally actually presents a greater cost for them. So that's something that can happen. So not only where you're booking, but also where you're paying are factors in how much a hotel is going to cost, but it's not one you can completely predict. You could go to a hotel 100 times, and just because of the type of hotels or location that you're in most of that time may give you one experience, but someone going to different types of hotels or in a different location may have a very different experience as to which method is more expensive. So you really kind of have to play with these things. To some degree, just use common sense and common knowledge. I've got setting sun here, so I'm trying to move slightly. Use some knowledge and empathy and try to figure out, and to some degree just you have to guess or ask or whatever. So those things will help you understand how to at least approach getting a better price. Now, someone mentioned, you look on like Airbnb, which is another mechanism a lot of places are using today. A lot of hotels, especially boutique ones, use Airbnb simply because it's a handy mechanism, and they're not exactly what people expect from a big hotel. So Airbnb may be a closer kind of experience associated with it. So we'll see that. But people who are looking at any of these, whether it's a regular traditional hotel like the Hilton or it is an Airbnb, if you want to stay for a long period of time, and we don't mean 3 or 4 days, but you're going to be staying for weeks, months, or years, it's almost always, and I mean just about always, best to call and talk to the property and make a deal. Often they'll negotiate things like, well, you're not going to get breakfast every day. We're not going to clean your room every day. We're going to make it every other day or once a week or whatever, and set a rate based on a confirmed amount of time. That can do a lot to get that price way down. They'll know what things are costing them money, which things are a pain point for them, and which things matter for you in most cases. So those types of prices almost never can you see online because it's too complicated to negotiate in that way. They'll also know when they're busy. So if you're like, I'm going to stay for a year, and they know that's going to go over their busy season, they're going to be like, I can only give you so much of a deal. But if you're like, I'll move out just before the busy season, they'll be like, oh my gosh, we'll give you a crazy discount, right? So there's a lot of complications that go with that. Now, when you're booking online, be aware you may have prices go up at the last minute, right? And this is a newer thing that's happening more and more, that demand pricing is starting to take effect. Now, we've always had this for hotels. Even back 30 years ago, we had demand pricing going on. That's not a new thing. So as the need for a hotel goes up, the price is going to go up. So if you book way out ahead of time, sometimes you get a way better price because there's very little demand. But also be aware, sometimes they raise the price far in advance because they're anticipating a demand, and they will lower it later when that demand doesn't actually end up panning out. So you can end up paying extra by doing way ahead of time. So just think about it. You just have to watch prices in places you want to be if you really want to get that lowest price. There's no simple answer to just this is what you always do. Now, some people think that going in person is always going to be more expensive. And in many cases it is, because they know you're on the ground, you're standing in front of them, you've made the effort to show up. And why not charge you more, right? You're in a position where you're not traveling to them. Like if you're online, they don't know where you are, right? Maybe you're going to come from an hour away. Maybe you're going to come from another state or another region, another country, and you need to have that locked in. But if you're standing in front of them, they know that there's a value to that convenience. You know, for $50, you could be staying right here in 5 minutes. This could be the place. You don't have to get back in a car. You don't have to pay for a taxi. You don't have to find another parking spot. You don't have to wonder. You don't have to negotiate with someone else. You're just going to be done, right? So they know that. So a lot of times they're not going to give you a really big discount, but they're going to read the room as best they can if you have someone who's empowered to haggle, and they may be like, these people are just going to drive home, right? And especially if they know who you are, right? A lot of times we'll be in places like, wow, we'd like to stay in Managua. We could drive back to Leon. If the prices are too high or nothing's available, we'll just drive home. I don't feel like driving at night. Maybe I want to get up and have breakfast at the Barrio Cafe in the morning. I'd like to stay here. Maybe I just need to get some points on my Hilton account, right? So we'll just spend the night because it's convenient. Hey, can we get a little bit of a deal? Because, you know, they know us, or it's a place where, you know, it's easy to see our schedule. Oh my gosh, you have a car, it's sitting outside. Of course you can just drive home. So why would we try to get this maximum price out of you when you're just going to leave and we're going to lose that room unless they're full? So there are cases where you can negotiate because you're standing in front of them, and it's just, hey, look, if it's cheap enough, I'll stay. No harm, no foul if you can't give me a deal, but here's your opportunity to make me a deal, right? And that can work, but a lot of times will not. If a hotel is very empty, they will become more aggressive at giving you a deal if you ask for it. However, if a hotel is full, especially if they know their neighbors are full, the prices are likely going to start going up. And even 30 years ago, this was standard. All the hotels, and this was a part of every shift, we would come in and we would call every competitive hotel in the region and find out how many rooms they had available. We all did it. We did not talk about what our prices were. We probably were not allowed to, but we never did. But we did know how busy each other were, and our prices would adjust throughout the night based on that. If we suddenly got a lot of people, we would all call around to each other and determine if it was unique to one of us or if all of us were getting a lot of people. We also would call around and talk about, oh my gosh, there's a huge storm rolling in. Is this going to affect you? Do you have power? Are your phones working? Are your rooms okay? And we also maintain relationships. So like, oh, we accidentally oversold by a room. Do you got a room available? All right, book it for me right now. I'm going to send someone over. We're paying for it, right? Those kinds of things. So it allowed us to run at the maximum occupancy more often. Allowed you to take some gambles if you knew a hotel that was friendly or another one that you owned somewhere might be able to take the overflow. You'd take a risk on, I really don't think these people are going to show up and they didn't prepay, so we're going to try to find a way to maximize the space. And when you're selling out of town, that's actually a service to everyone, so you don't have people being turned away. But as you get more full, the prices start to go up, especially during like Semana Santa here in Nicaragua. During that week, everybody wants to go stay somewhere, especially like on the beach, for example. And so the prices can actually go up by more than double. Seeing triple is not unheard of. So you may end up spending a lot more. Now, those you're not likely going to be able to book much in advance online because we can anticipate it so much. But it is standard that if everyone's full, the prices go up quite quickly because you don't have another choice. And they know that one way or another, someone is likely to walk in and pay for that room. So the hotels put in a lot of effort gauging these things. So this should give you a little bit of a feel of what powers you have, right? To get the most stable pricing, yes, online gives you the, I know ahead of time that it's locked in or whatever. However, be aware that some places will simply not honor it. They have to in most cases, but that doesn't mean that they will. And if you're completely trapped, what are you going to do, right? Your choice is not getting a hotel room. So be aware that some places may not honor their prices. A lot of people know that one of the places we used to recommend in Leon, really near the airport, has been known to more than double the price when you're standing in front of them, even if you've already paid online. They'll just be like, we're not honoring that payment. I'm sorry. So what are you going to do about it? And of course, once we were ready to call the police and call the Department of Tourism and knew who to call, they started reconsidering that. And once we started taking names, because you can prosecute individuals because it is theft, right? They started at least letting us out of our room. But that's one of the reasons why we now stay at the Hotel Munch in that area, is because it is safe and we've not had a problem with them stealing our money or bait and switching or anything like that. And we've had good experiences there. So just be aware that you do need to have some protections. Just because you pay online doesn't mean that you are going to necessarily be honored. Also be aware that some of the online agencies do not themselves check if the hotel listings on them are real. Now, the ones I use certainly do. Booking, I know, does. Hostel World does. Of course, if you're using like Hilton's own app, it does. But be aware, some of the big names that people know, you can go sign up and claim to be any hotel, hook up a credit card machine and start taking people's credit cards and start charging them, get that money and take off. You're not the hotel. They'll show up to a hotel that says, we're not on that service. What are you talking about? That's not our listing. And those customers will be mad at the hotel because they think that somehow they pulled a bait and switch and they're stuck with nothing to do except for suing that service for putting up a fake listing. But that service will just accuse whoever their customer was of putting up a fake listing. There's very little you can do. So make sure you're using a legitimate service. And basically, if it's not one of the ones I mentioned, it's one you need to worry about, right? If it's a major one, I'm not going to say who it is, but you should be able to guess it with absolute accuracy from what I've said. Be very careful because we know tons of hotels here in Nicaragua that have had that happen. I don't know if it happens in other jurisdictions, but here they definitely thought that they could get away with putting up fake listings, collecting credit cards, and they made a lot of money. And from our perspective, there's nothing we can do. The people who have lost their reservations or never really had any often feel like the hotels need to do something. But as we're not the ones who got scammed and we're not partners with the company or customers in any way, we have no one to contact, no resources, and we're not in a position of making a legal claim or anything like that, right? And it's often happening in another jurisdiction. In our example, we're Nicaraguan hotels, but normally that is happening in the United States. So we don't have any legal jurisdiction to go after them and say, hey, they did this thing, nor do we have the proof that they did. That is 100% between the person and the person who scammed them, right? So there's no way for us to do anything. And because it feels like we must be the ones that have to do it, many people just give up and get frustrated. And it's really unfortunate that they're able to discredit the hotels in this way, but just you need to protect yourself, right? Use common sense. Make sure you're using a trustworthy service. Booking.com has been really good. Airbnb is actually quite good. Hostel World has been good, for example. And those are the common ones used here with good results. So you really have to think about what the traffic is like, the amount of time and warning that you're giving, how long you're staying, what the situation with the hotel is. And there's a bunch of unknowns you just have to guess at or try some things. But that should give you kind of a base understanding of what's going through the minds of the hotel as they try to set prices, adjust the prices, deal with the situation on the fly. And you can always go from hotel to hotel, ask for prices, ask who will give you a deal. But be aware, as you get later and later in the night, a couple things happen. One is you start spending more and more of your time and effort trying to get a good deal. This can end up backfiring pretty heavily. And as you do that, the prices may start going up as the rooms start filling up, especially if you're not the only one doing that. If you're in a region where you know everything's staying empty, you can do that with pretty much confidence. But if you are thinking that they may sell out, trust me, they are thinking the same thing, and they're going to make sure those prices go up, not down. So you may be able to get $60 at one point later in the night. There may be fewer rooms available. Suddenly it's $80, and that negotiating window will be over. You don't want to be in a case where the prices are going up on you. You want where you can still talk them down. So most of the time, it's true. Booking online well ahead of time is going to be your best prices. In some cases, booking online right in front of the person who's going to have to check you in may be the best price, right? Some of the bigger box hotels, they don't give their front desk the ability to negotiate. And so you have to look at, hey, what deal will you give me standing here? What deal can I get online, and make a decision on the spot? Sometimes doing it in different locations, like I said, gives you different benefits when you're there. That depends. But that is something that people do, right? Be prepared to make, having good internet. This is one of the reasons to have good internet on your phone. You can book a room really quickly and be like, hey, well, here's my reservation. Boom, and you're in. You got that price locked in. But then you can question whether or not that was the best one. But don't book online and then ask, right? Because then they'll know what price you got, and there's no room for negotiation. They can just not offer you a room because they already have your reservation, and you need them to honor canceling it to be able to get a better price. So there's a little bit of empathy will take you a long way, and understanding the hotel industry a little bit will make it make complete sense. It's not random, but there is a very real possibility that in boutique places, the owner maybe, or someone who's willing to represent the owner's interest is there to negotiate. But in larger places, often people are not empowered with the knowledge or the skills or the authority to negotiate. So be aware they may be trapped, right? You may have a completely logical reason why you should get a deal. There's nothing they can do about it. And it's not their money being lost. So especially outside of the U.S. In the U.S., people have a tendency to really be able to think in this way and haggle on behalf of a company that they work for. But in most of the world, people just do not take on that responsibility, and no one gives them that responsibility, and it's not a thing that people are used to. They're used to haggling, but only for themselves, not on behalf of someone else. So you have the problem that someone at the front desk may have literally no authority to haggle and feel at risk if they were to, and it's no skin off of their nose if you walk away. So they're perfectly happy to let you sleep on the street. Doesn't bother them, and that they're not the ones who lost the money. They don't care. But if you have someone who's really taking ownership and thinking like an owner, they may, and is given the permission to, the authority to, the mandate to, they may negotiate with you. But that's much more of an old school thing. So just be aware that those limitations may exist. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for the question. Like and subscribe. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. Help support all the things we do here, pay for the cameras and the licensing and the software. As always, get in those comments, ask your questions, say hello if nothing else. Get in the show notes. You can send in a video of yourself so you can be on the show. Love putting you guys on the show. As always, Thursdays we do a live stream, so watch for us tomorrow. Also, this Saturday, I am planning on being in Managua at Marcela's mother's panaderia, her bakery, doing a show from there. They're doing a mini feria. I'm going to post a little bit of information about that probably yesterday, I think. So watch for that. I'm going to talk about it on the live stream. I'm mentioning it now. I'll try to get something out. But if you're in the Managua area, come out and join us at the panaderia. It'll be a chance to come out and meet me in person in Managua, not something I normally advertise, and a chance to meet Marcela, who just got through stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma and is doing great, and a chance to hang out at an authentic downtown inner city panaderia. We'll get all the information in the show notes for you so you can get to that without a problem, and we'll post a show about that. Hopefully I've already posted a show about that, and I will see all of you tomorrow.